And then when your anxiety's up, that's just not good for anybody because you can feel that tension. If you're bringing fear of anything into a situation, to a room, it's just contagious. And that's just one thing that's been coming up over and over and over as I'm preparing for birth. And it's like, pay attention to who you have in the room because their presence is going to spread something to you. They're going to spread peace. They're going to spread fear. They're going to spread anxiety. But it's true in your regular daily life too.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Marriage Sparks. We've been talking about communication and embarrassing ourselves all week, so we're glad that you stayed with us.
It's been fun.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. Hopefully people are enjoying it. We left off yesterday saying that we wanted to talk about how can we keep the small conflicts from building into these giant arguments. And so there are hopefully strategies that we can employ to do that, right? So what do you think is one of the things that we've done or that has worked at times to prevent big things from happening, to repair quicker?
First thing that I thought of was, is it worth it? Is it going to matter in 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours? Is it really going to matter in the grand scheme of things? Is it worth it? Probably not. And if it is, do I need to bring it up right now?
Yeah. Do
I really? Usually the answer is no. And if it is something that's important or has been driving you crazy on a regular basis, maybe now not the time, because he's going to hear that as criticism. You know what I mean? Or she's going to be like, I'm attacking her, and then she's going to get on the defense. And maybe it's just going to look so, different if you do it at a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times maybe that's part of it is I feel like we really try not to do things from just pure emotion. Right? Where it's like this, I'm upset, so I have to say this.
Yeah. So that annoyed me. So what? I need to voice my displeasure to every small annoyance?
But think about that. Like we talked about, if that was the case and everything that was upsetting you talked about, then that would make it huge because it's like everything is wrong all the time. And even if you don't feel that way, I will hear that. And some part of us will grow this giant tree of crap that we're going to have to live under, which is all these problems. And so, again, you got to be careful about what you talk about. I think this may sound odd, but I think in a lot of ways, one of the things that has been really helpful is a colleague of mine years ago. His name's Elliot Connie, who is a solution-focused guy out in Texas. He had said, he had given a training and he had basically talked about how with fire, you have 3 components, right? You have a fuel, right? So you have to have a piece of wood, right? Some fuel source to burn. You have to have a spark, right? Some kind of combustion, right? A lighter, a match. You have to get some kind of thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of, she looked at me the wrong way. And then you need oxygen. And so one of the things that I feel like after I listen to him talk, I'm like, well, how do you get rid of the oxygen? And he said, well, the oxygen that produces all this stuff is fear. It's this fear that people have. And you need to try to work consciously against the spirit of fear coming in all the time. And I think one of the things that we've done, and this is really hard because it comes into our house through work. It comes into our house from other people. It comes into our house through social media. It comes into our house through our family, is this whole idea of fear. And whether it's comparison, whether it's that I'm not doing enough, whether I'm not achieving enough, whether I'm a bad, husband.
That other person is doing so much more than me.
Yeah, whatever it is. And
they have it together.
Yeah, they've got the perfect family. They're doing everything right. I think what we do to get rid of the fear is we consciously try to talk about with each other what it is that is good and what is good in our kids. And there is a positive reflection. And I think at some point it was deliberate. At some point it was weird. I think it was actually weird. We were like, well, we're just going to do this. And I don't remember when it happened. I don't even remember making a decision to make it happen. I think that what that does though, is it puts our brain in a different place a lot where we're consciously reflecting on what is good. Or like you even talked about earlier about, in the week about the water tank heater, and that God gives us enough for our need, but not for our greed, right? So it gives you an extra $15 to pay it. Oh, you can get, you guys, 18. Yeah. So you guys can go get a coffee. You know what I mean? Get a fancy coffee, on me. Which again, that's how God operates. But I think you have to see how God is operating in your spouse. Otherwise, I think in a lot of ways you get afraid. I just think that fear just takes over. And if you're always solving problems or waiting for problems and you never talk to God, Like that's a problem. So
Mm.
the second thing that I think that we've done, like that's really helpful as we're talking about this, is that I think we've really tried to make it a greater and greater intentionality to have a personal prayer life and to have a communal prayer life where I will pray with you,
Yeah.
you'll pray with me, and we try to pray regularly with our kids and community. Like they know that we pray. They know that we pray on our own. They know that we pray with each other.
We talk about it too. Like, well, when I was just praying, this came up, or I just had a conversation with Jesus. And you know what I mean? It was sharing those experiences.
Yeah. And that's the thing is Jesus is encouraging. The world is discouraging. So if you're going to Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, a lot of the stuff that is being shown is going to be discouraging because discouragement makes you stare longer. You're going to watch the viral bad thing, murder, whatever it is, or some person who's like in a riot. You're not going to listen to other things. So Jesus is going to quietly say, no, I love you. No, you are a good mother. No, you are a good husband. No, you are a good son, daughter, whatever it is. But we don't talk to him and we really don't ask him these things. And instead, I can't go like, well, what does she think about me? Versus, well, what does Jesus think about you? What does God think?
Did you know there are two kinds of desire in marriage? One just shows up, the other has to be built. Most couples only wait for spontaneous desire, the kind that feels automatic. But over time, that one fades and fluctuates. Responsive desire is different. It grows from closeness, from touch, from emotional safety, from friendship. And when you understand the difference, everything changes. We created a free guide called Into Me You See, a couple's guide to true intimacy to help you rebuild trust, lower pressure around sex, and develop desire in a healthy, natural way. If you want deeper emotional and physical connection, download it now. It's free. Click the link in show notes or go to heartsrenewed.org and start tonight.
About you. And that's, I think, a way to get out of these weird loops of emotional needs and being afraid when you talk to the person, because like you shouldn't be afraid of your spouse. And I feel like whenever I talk to people or give counsel to people in their marriages, I feel like they're afraid at some level of their spouse, that their spouse isn't going to give them what they need. And the truth is their spouse never will. Not all of it. You have to go to God. And so I feel like that's where a lot of like these things are missing, right? In counsel is, do you have a relationship with God? Does your spouse have a relationship with God? Do you promote your wife to spend time with God and get away from you? And I think that that's helpful, to be like, you need to go spend time with him, or vice versa. So I think those things are very powerful for people that keep, because the focus isn't on myself. If the focus is on myself, there's going to be a lot of fear. And then there's going to be a lot of anxiety over, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Oh my gosh, what does she think? Oh my gosh, what's he going to do? I hope he better do this. Why isn't he like this man? Why isn't he like this husband?
Well, and then when your anxiety's up, that's just not good for anybody because you can feel that
Yeah.
tension. If you're bringing fear of anything into a situation, to a room, it's just contagious. And that's just one thing that's been coming up over and over and over as I'm preparing for birth. And it's like, pay attention to who you have in the room because their presence is going to spread something to you. They're going to spread peace. They're going to spread fear. They're going to spread anxiety. But it's true in your regular daily life too.
Yeah. And I think that again, like as a husband, like if I work outside of the home most of the time, like what am I bringing back home? How do I make sure that I bring some kind of peace with me? And I'm not, again, until you go to God, you don't get peace. Like you have to go to him, then come back. And I think for the longest time, I thought, well, you could just do that. But the thing is, you have to go to him and then you do what you're supposed to do. And I think that the more we do that in prayer, it's a lot easier and you can repair faster. And so that's the other thing is I think that for a lot of couples, because they're afraid, they hesitate or they avoid, or they, like you said, they just try to solve the problem immediately with force, but they don't listen. And because of that, they're either racing through things and they miss things, or they're avoiding things and there's resentment.
I'm an avoider.
I'm not going to say anything. Power and strength.
Well, I'd rather avoid the conflict than bring it out. Yes. Peace at all costs. No, that's not good either.
No, but they say peace. Peace at all costs means war in yourself, right? So, war inside, right? I do think if we do that, we repair faster though, if we get rid of the fear. Like I can repair faster. I can move to improve the stuff. And realistically, if you think about it, is if I'm thinking about this from a situation where I'm physically injured, if I'm physically injured and so is my spouse, and I'm laying on the ground, before I can get up off the ground and go over to where she is and where she's hurt, I have to kind of administer to myself. I have to put compression on the wound before I go and see how she's doing. And I think a lot of people, like, they either are too overwhelmed with their own hurt, right? So you have to figure out what you need to do so that you are not so attached to your spouse that you are destroyed because they're upset.
Right.
You're going to fail in your marriage. That's not the issue. The issue is, what are you going to do when you fail? And are you going to turn in on yourself, or are you going to turn to God? And are you going to try to go out to the other person? Because then I have to go to the other person and I have to focus on them. And I think for the most part, between men and women, like, the issue is that there's a failure of men to understand the role is you pursue the woman doesn't pursue you. And I think that that's a real big disconnect, like, in our society, where men are taught via, like, the media, and women are taught that they're taught, like, that they shouldn't want men to pursue them, or they shouldn't need a man. But then in these dynamics where men screw up or women screw up, or both of you screw up, the man must lead through humility and pursue the woman. It's
Mhm.
very unlikely for a woman to come to a man and be like, I'm sorry, let's move on. If that happens, then that's an act of grace and stuff, but that's not a normative process. So if you want faster repairs, I think that you really want to pray for your husband, that he can kind of detach from you so that his need for approval, his need for whatever, is being met by himself and God, so that he has the freedom to actually, take responsibility, not because it's his fault. It's his fault. It's that it's his responsibility with the relationship, because God has entrusted the woman to the man, right? It's the whole thing, like the whole Adam and Eve thing,
Yeah.
People, always are like, oh, well, Eve ate the apple. Well, actually, technically, what happened when Eve ate the apple? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. It was when Adam ate it, because the contract was with the man. The man is supposed to protect the woman. The man is supposed to lead the woman to Christ. Yes, and she then leads me to Christ too. It's true. For whatever reason, God has deemed us to provide leadership and to take responsibility to imitate him, because men must imitate Jesus in that way, at least in that way. And then women have to, unfortunately, trust us, which is awful. Sorry about that, by the way. So we'll leave off with that. If you are interested, keep a watch out for the webinar series that will be coming out. We're going to do a live webinar in a couple weeks. I'll announce the dates hopefully very soon. And, you can get a copy of those 23 questions that will revolutionize your marriage and pull you out of all of this conflict, and hopefully get you in a completely different direction. So keep us in your prayers. If you haven't already hit subscribe, please do. And we will see you back here soon.
Awesome.